Hello and welcome to Fresh Face Comics, the comic book podcast where a lifelong comic book reader guides his friend through the world of comics for the first time. My name is Joey Morgan, the aforementioned lifelong reader. With me as always is Jacob Licklider, the aforementioned newbie.
Our Twitter viewers said monkey way too many times. They made me cancel my intro bit.
That is the power of the monkey. And today, monkeys are the subject of today's episode of Fresh Face Comics. We're continuing Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellado's Flash run from the New 52 with Rogues Revolution and Guerrilla Warfare. I know you were actually kind of sad last time that we finished our Flash episode, and you were like, I kind of want to keep going with this. Well, now we have a lot. This is a straight 13 issues through, and actually the end of a lot of the major plot threads from most of this run, from the first volume and all that. So,
yes,
yeah.
and then setting up future plot threads right at the end.
Indeed. So, all right, non-spoiler section as always. Jacob, what is Rogues Revolution and Guerrilla Warfare about?
So, it is more establishment of the status quo for the New 52 in the Flash and how things have changed, with Barry as the Flash and potentially the only Flash, because we haven't had any of the other Flashes show up really. As well as navigating, I guess, the fact that that Barry went missing for a period of time because he entered the Speed Force at the end of the last volume. And now he has to navigate a central city that thinks he's missing and has some very interesting kinks in his plan, and that evolves even further into a full-scale invasion by other villains. This is kind of a story that spirals, like, through both volumes, and it kind of makes one big story, but it also kind of doesn't, and
I would say it's also... I know it's a story that, like, I think, but especially Rogues Revolution, but also Guerrilla Warfare, it's a story that I think you've been looking for with Flash comics for a while, because when people talk about Flash comics, it's Flashpoint, it's other big speedsters like Reverse Flash and Professor Zoom, but you wanted to see more of the Flash Rogues Gallery.
Yes.
And here, you get the Rogues Gallery, and then some. It's really nice to see. And
that is honestly, that's where these stories excel. Like, when it's not doing... There are two places where it excels. When it's internal character development for Barry in some of the later issues, like the very final issues, and when it's focusing on the Rogues. Like, I wasn't expecting to fall in love with the Rogues so easily, but like, my God, the Flash has a great Rogues Gallery.
It does. You like top 3 DC Rogues galleries. He's up there with Batman and Superman, honestly.
Yeah, and it makes me hurt. It hurts me that, like, people seem to only know Flashpoint.
Yeah.
And derivatives of Flashpoint.
Yeah. I mean, Flashpoint's good. We both really liked Flashpoint when we read it.
Flashpoint's good. It's a good 5-issue miniseries. It's also a very good Flash story. But it's not the only Flash story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a problem.
Yeah. You know what's really funny, actually? I think I was really mad when they moved the release date of the Flash movie, because it was supposed to come out back when we did our last Flash episode. I was like, oh man, that'd be cool. It would kind of coincide with this. And then here we are. The release date has moved like twice, I think, since then. And it's coming out around the same time as this episode. So, yeah. I saw the Flash movie. You didn't.
I have not seen it. I'll probably see it when it comes to streaming in less than a couple of weeks.
Yeah. It was actually pretty good. Bar a couple select sequences, but I enjoyed it. Honestly, wasn't an offensive film by any means. So that said, though, I am very ready for the new James Gunn universe. So.
Yes, we will. We are not going to. Joey, we need to promise that we're not going to tangent about that recent news, because this is a Flash episode, not a Superman episode.
I know. All right. Let's get into some Twitter questions now, because we got a lot today.
Oh God, so many.
All right, I'm going to try to organize these into the 3 categories of comments that we got for today's Twitter questions. So, all right. Kian at Kian the Quark says monkey. Kian at Kian the Quark says monkey. Kian at Kian the Quark says monkey. Cyberbullying Eggbot at Miso the Lay. I've never known how to pronounce your Twitter at. Says monkey. English Giraffe at English_giraffe sends a GIF this time of someone saying monkey. Isn't that the guy from Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah, it's
okay.
Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda.
Cool. God damn it! I hate everything. Okay, that's all the monkey ones.
I was not expecting.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. You didn't get the appeal of Gorilla Grodd. You were like, I don't know if I feel for Grodd, and I was like, but Jacob, have you considered Monkey? And you were like, yeah, I have, but also like he's not that great, is he? I'm like, yeah, but Monkey, Jacob, like you don't know the power of Monkey. In fact, the power of Monkey is so prevalent. Do you know this story? The monkey mandate?
The monkey what?
Okay. So back in the Silver Age, people in the DC offices realized that comic covers with monkeys on them just sold more than regular comic covers. I don't know what it was, just covers with types of gorillas and apes and monkeys and all that just sold more than regular comics. So writers and artists got wind of this, and they started just putting monkeys on everything so that their comics sold more. And they did. This became such an issue, though, that editor Julia Schwartz put a restriction on it. Like there was an actual like limit to like how many monkey covers you could publish from DC during the Silver Age.
Okay, that is, but why?
It is a statistically proven fact
What is it?
that comics with monkeys on the cover sell more than regular comics.
What is it with people and monkeys?
Jacob, don't worry about that. Just know that it is a statistically proven fact that comics with monkeys on the cover sell more than regular comics.
Okay. So So my question is then, why is my printing of Guerrilla Warfare like still have the old DC logo on it? It has monkeys on the cover.
You know what's funny? Mine has the new one.
Oh, but I guess I got an older copy somehow.
I mean, I bought mine a few years back, but yeah, it still has the new logo. Yeah.
That's even okay. That's weird.
Yeah, so like here's the thing, like a lot of like New 52 volumes they still publish today, like have like the new logo, but some of the old ones are still in circulation. It's really weird. I don't know. All right.
That's a thing.
Kira C. Scott at Kira B. Writing says, "Why do you hate Wally West?"
Because he's a Midwestern conservative.
He's a Midwestern conservative. That's exactly it.
But in all seriousness, we don't hate Wally West.
We really don't. I
am sure we will do a Wally West run at some point, or two, or three.
Yeah. Raw Bad Boy Edge at Allowable Man 2 says, "Why did you choose the New 52 to start with instead of the Silver Age run or the Wally West run?" For me personally, I mean, I knew I wanted to have Jacob read Flashpoint because it's a very important story in Flash continuity, and from that point, Barry Allen being the most well-known Flash, and personally my preferred Flash, I do love Wally, but I think the New 52 run by Francis Manapul and Brian Buccellato is like the best introductory crash course for Barry Allen as a character. Barry Allen as the Flash, other characters that interact with Barry. I'm a big fan of it, and I don't know. I thought it was a good entry run for Jacob, and I hope he agrees.
Yes. I mean, it's a good entry run. I have some complaints about the run, sort of where the run's been going, but we'll leave that for spoiler talk.
Indeed. Meanwhile, Kian at Kian the Quark says, so here's the thing. When I realized that there were 3 types of comments we were getting, I made a tweet about it, and Kian sort of clapped back at that because I said that the Wally West comments were unrelated, but Kian says it's not unrelated. There's a Wally West story with the same name. I read it last week, and that one has Detective Chimp. Does this have Detective Chimp?
No, it does
not have Detective Chimp. But I've also not read the Wally West. I believe it's also a Green Lantern crossover, Guerrilla Warfare. Also, there are just a couple Flash stories called Guerrilla Warfare. It's weird. There's also an episode of the Flash TV show called Guerrilla Warfare, and it's weird.
I mean, that makes sense because the Arrowverse would take its like episode titles.
from the New
from
52. Yeah.
from stories. Even if they were not adapting those stories.
Yeah. Kian also said earlier in the day, he said, finally, some Wally West content. What do you mean, New 52? Kian, you know exactly what we mean. It's we're reading Guerrilla Warfare from the New 52, featuring Barry Allen, with no Wally West in sight.
With no Wally West in sight. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a Discord question from our friend Andrew. Says, a lot of emphasis is placed on the Flash rogues, but they don't seem to get as much recognition among comic fans as many other villains of the Flash. Do you think the rogues deserve more praise, and which is your favorite? P.S. When are we doing the Clone Saga? Andrew, I will burn in hell before I do the Clone Saga with you.
No. We'll start the Clone Saga, episode 200.
I will make it episode 600. I will make it episode 666.
Oh, yeah, no, dude. Well, wait, I thought that was going to be Holy Terror.
Oh, shit, you're right. Yeah. You know what? I will cover every bad comic that we've ever joked about covering in episode 666.
Okay, that is way too much to read, though, in the span of 2 weeks.
But yeah, so rogues don't get as much recognition as other Flash villains. But yeah, do you think the rogues deserve more praise, and which is your favorite, Jacob?
Okay. Okay, in terms of favorite, it might just be because we've spent the most time with him in general. But Captain Cold, I don't know. I love his arc. I love his character. With a close second, only because I've seen clips of him being played by Mark Hamill and voiced by Mark Hamill, the Trickster.
We do love the Trickster.
But I think it's honestly because Flashpoint was just got almost too popular. And that's kind of screwed over the image of the Flash. Like, everyone thinks the Flash now needs to be against Professor Zoom or a Reverse Flash. And you need to be a speedster when, I don't know. I think it's kind of a shame that a lot of, the Flash in popular culture, especially based on, the Flash CW show, and then has a problem of it likes to draw on Flashpoint specifically a lot, as well as just Barry needs to run really fast, and Barry needs to run really fast, at least for me, not that compelling of a plot resolution. Sorry,
this has turned into quite the tangent. My answer to that question is, if we're just talking about this volume, probably Captain Cold or Golden Glider. I love both of them and how they're portrayed in this. Overall, I'm a big Mirror Master fan, actually. So I don't know.
He's cool. I hope he gets more focus.
Yeah.
At some point, and when we read something, be it more of this run or a different run.
Yeah. Next, we have a couple questions from our friend Mason at the GD256. One, how does this compare to other New 52 ranges, Jacob?
I think overall stronger. I think. See, here's the hard part, right? Is that because runs can be expansive, but I think this is probably of the four. Balancing in noting that we completed the New 52 Jeff Johns portion of the New 52 Aquaman run, and that
we've done about half of his Justice League, and we've done all of the Scott Snyder Batman.
Yeah.
Any others? I think that was it, right?
That's it for New 52 runs. Probably the number 2 or number 3 slot. Because again, the way the Aquaman run ended kind of soured me a little bit on it didn't really reach the full potential just as a run on the whole, despite having some really, really strong stories. While this run, despite me having some problems, has been more of a consistent quality. Even if it hasn't reached the super highest highs of, say, John's Aquaman or the Scott Snyder Batman run.
And I think we would both agree that the weakest New 52 thing we've read so far is Justice League.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's still good. It's still good.
It's still good.
It has had a lot of a rockier track record than
it is. That has had some fairly high highs, but it's had some lows.
Yeah. And obviously nothing can touch Snyder's Batman for us.
because
So
Snyder's
it's Snyder's fucking Batman. I mean, come on, it's great.
that is great.
Mason then says, favorite Flash villain.
Probably Captain Cold.
Like I am a Monkey fan myself.
You are a Monkey fan. I see the potential in the Monkey. I just, you know what? I don't want anyone to take that out of context because that could...
I see the potential in the Monkey.
God, this could be. There's so many sound bites where we have to say Monkey. Like I don't think he gets enough focus in the third volume as he perhaps should have. Which is a shame because he's actually set up really, really well in volume 2. Yeah.
Mason's last question says, fan cast Wally West, again with the unrelated Wally West questions. I don't know if I have a Wally West in mind. I don't know.
I don't really know Wally outside of New Teen Titans.
Well enough to cast him.
And
I don't know. I'm just cycling ginger actors through my head, but I get it. I guess he doesn't have to be ginger, though he probably should be. I don't know.
I don't know.
Genuinely, I don't think I have an answer to that question. I apologize, Mason. I probably should have thought about that more throughout the day, but anyway.
Yeah.
Last up, we have a couple questions from Jamie at Jamie_season 7. Maybe if the CW show just had just been a direct adaptation of this run, it would have been good. I agree. I sincerely yeah. Especially considering the run was already over at the time that the CW show started.
Because what?
Yeah, because the next run would have already started at that point. Yeah. Yeah, because it started in 2014. The show. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're because I forget that this run ends at 25 technically. I
forget the exact number. It's in the 20s. Yeah,
it's halfway through the New 52.
Yeah. Jamie then says, "How long before you cover the Horrorist? It's such a famous Flash story and definitely not a Hellblazer spinoff." Jacob, what do you know about the Horrorist?
I know that it is a Hellblazer thing that you and Jamie both think is terrible.
It's pretty bad. You know what, though? Because of the way that Hellblazer is collected, there's a very good chance we will actually cover it on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how long, Joey? How long till we do the Horrorist?
How long? I don't know. I can't give an exact time frame on that because I can't spoil things for Jacob while we're on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point it will happen. It definitely will happen.
Definitely will happen.
Yeah. Oh my god, that actually does all our Twitter questions. Whew, that was a lot. We got a lot more than we usually do this episode.
But thank you all for submitting your questions.
It is always appreciated, even if it is mostly just the word monkey.
Yeah.
Without the Y.
Yeah. Next time, I don't think we're gonna have a monkey, so please don't do the monkey.
You never know. Those desert island monkeys are everywhere, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, as always, I mean, not as always, but for good books like these two, as always, before we go into spoilers, we would definitely recommend picking these up.
I definitely do. They're very, very fun. It's a good introduction to the Flash in general. I think, oddly enough, I may have a hot take that I think the first two volumes work really well as a pair.
That's interesting. Because obviously, I think with the obvious connection between the two, these two go a bit more hand in hand.
Yeah. See, part of the problem is that this is also very much a continuous run. This isn't...
Oh, yeah.
This feels
stop. like only at the end of Guerrilla Warfare do you actually see, an end point where, you could actually take some time in between.
I
would say. But even then, it's still teasing the next volume, so...
Yeah. Just not as heavily as Volume 1 led directly into where Volume 2 starts.
Yeah, and 2 leads directly into 3, and it's a little... It's difficult to split these up, but it's actually pretty nice though because it's it just makes it one nice cohesive story, and it's very fun to read. All right, is it spoiler time?
It is spoiler.
Oh, and also, actually, before spoilers, sorry about that. If you didn't watch last episode or you didn't stick around to the end of last episode, Jacob already knows what episode 46 is. We'll be talking about that at the end of this episode. We'll be talking about what we're covering next time. And also, as always, I'll leave our link trees in the description to follow us on social medias and all that shit. And yeah, I guess that actually does it now, right?
Yes, right. That's
cool.
That's everything we've done.
Let's do this. All right, spoiler time. Rogues Revolution. Let's get into this.
Okay.
Yeah, issue number 9 we open up on here.
So I'd like...
Actually, no, well, I was going to talk about the structure of Rogues Revolution, but it doesn't really kick in until issue 10, so...
yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about the monkey first.
Yeah, let's talk about the monkey. So, okay. My first note is, this is a reverse King Kong situation, which I feel is intentional.
Most definitely.
And I think, okay, this is the issue where Gorilla Grodd is like, or I guess King Grodd as he is in the New 52, is the most interesting. Like, I hate to say it, the entire Guerrilla Warfare arc, we'll get to it, doesn't give the gorillas nearly enough focus.
But I feel like because you have the backbone of this issue going into Guerrilla Warfare, I think it adds that weight automatically into Volume 3.
Yeah, it does, but I kind of just wish we had a little more of the gorillas in Volume 3.
So you're saying your chief complaint is that there is not enough monkey?
One of my complaints is there's not enough monkey.
Okay.
I have multiple complaints.
Yeah.
And once again...
what struck me immediately when I started my reread of this is just how much I loved these Manipul and Bucalato title pages.
Yes.
I love the way they play around with that. It's wonderful.
What's kind of a shame for later on when we get to the annual is that the cover of the annual is, because in the collector edition they don't include the Flash logo, it kind of cheapens that cover.
Yeah.
Which makes me really happy that they chose it as like the cover of the collection.
Yeah, because you still get the whole title on there. Yeah, it's cool. But yeah, we pick up exactly where we left off last time in the Flash Move Forward, which was actually quite a while ago now.
Quite a while ago.
It throws you right back into the action.
Yeah, so we haven't read the Flash since last October, actually.
October, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I love this idea of Barry being afraid, having like this traumatic experience on like some sort of a safari that he had as a little kid. And that made him afraid of gorillas. Which is very interesting. Then we have just the fabulous title page.
Title pages, so good. The Flash in Fear, which is both the title and just a really fun way to say that, because we're dealing with a memory wipe story here. His experiences in the Speed Force and all that is missing a few memories right now.
And Barry, because this is the New 52, they're, I guess, rebooting Gorilla City completely, right? And rebooting Grodd. I don't know what Grodd's like actual backstory is, like in like post-crisis, pre-New 52. Because I like the idea of these gorillas thinking that Barry is a messenger from the gods. It's an interesting idea, especially because Barry has no idea of like who he is right now. But it's also an idea with some kind of odd potential undertones. With the idea of someone coming into a new country and being hailed as a god, as being kind of a trope in media that can get messy.
This is just an episode of Doctor Who, is what you're saying.
Yes.
We also get to look back into the Speed Force, where a few of our supporting cast got caught in last time. Maybe Iris West here, though, is who we're mostly focusing on. And just a quick little scene to catch up with her, and then we go back over to the Central City Police Station.
This is where we also meet Gomez and Albert, who will become important way later. Like
end of the next volume.
There is Manapul and Buccellato are doing a lot of really nice seeding, but it also there's also a lot to keep track of, surprisingly.
Yeah. Like when you actually get to where Albert and Gomez are leading in the next volume, it's like, oh wait, who are they? Oh, that's right, they were here at the very beginning of volume 2. It's just interesting to say. We catch up with Director Singh here, and I can't remember if we saw Pied Piper at all last time.
We did, but I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
I thought he was the music meister, potentially.
And that's right. Yeah, I forgot you said that. Yeah. We learned that they're a thing, and that there's some friction between them. That
and I didn't realize the Pied Piper was like a reformed villain. Like, I think that's interesting. It's clearly something, I think, from like the pre-New 52 post-crisis, right? That was developed there. That makes me really fascinated to read that like those earlier Wally stories, just to see how like some of these ideas originated. Honestly, which is great. Also, these are really fast-paced issues. Like,
oh yeah. Like they fly right by. Yeah.
Like, my notes are actually quite light for this episode. Only because we're moving really quick. Because we are then immediately back to Barry.
Who's been chained up by the citizens of Gorilla City here.
Yes. This council of almost older gorillas. And they are. I like that the gorillas aren't all one-minded. They have their own factions. It feels like they're very much could be like a city politic thing happening if like we were setting more than just this issue in Gorilla City. Because we really just set this issue in Gorilla City. Grodd wants to kill Barry, who he thinks is the messenger, which will bring ruin to the world somehow, based on a prophecy. Barry doesn't know, but Barry asks and is released and taken down into a temple where there is a prophecy written on the wall, denoting the light, which is clearly meant to be the Speed Force.
And interestingly, we actually have the Flash drawn on these temple walls, and it's cool actually because this is played alongside Barry still not knowing who he is, and this is when Grodd comes in then and goes to attack Barry, and I love that this is the thing that jogs Barry's memory, the thing that gets him his memories back, is him coming face to face with Grodd here, and that flashback to his childhood of being afraid of gorillas at the zoo, that jogs his memory. And it's just a really cool scene played across these couple pages, and once again, Manapul drawing these flashbacks here is just really great because he plays around with the layout a lot here and makes for some really dynamic pages, I think.
Yes, it's also great. So in the actual prophecy, you also have a representation of Turbine, the fighter pilot who was trapped in the Speed Force that Barry saved last issue. Because again, we are pulling on a bunch of threads, and they are being pulled on actually quite well, honestly. They're juggled very well, for the most part. But yeah, Barry gets his memory back. He realizes that we get another, I knew who I am. I'm Barry Allen. I am the Flash. And I am the fastest man alive. Okay.
Grant Gustin intensifies.
I wasn't expecting I am Barry Allen, I'm the Flash, the fastest man alive, to be a thing that was repeated so often in the Barry comics.
Yeah. See, it helps for me at least because I'm so acclimatized to this, so I'm just my go-to Barry voice is just the dude from Flashpoint Paradox. Because he's fantastic. That and also I do love Neil McDonough in the first Injustice game.
Yes.
And then there's also Taliesin Jaffe, who plays him in the second Injustice game.
Is he Barry in that, or is he Wally in that?
He plays Barry in that one. Yeah,
Barry in that.
Yeah. Yeah, fun stuff. But yeah, so Barry then escapes from Grodd here, and
Grodd brings the whole cave down.
Yeah, just by like rampaging after Barry, and Barry like narrowly escaping him. It brings him this whole cave, this temple thing. Barry's Grodd underneath it. And one of the gorilla elders like comes before all the rest of them, and claims that we're actually like free right now, and we're to rebuild the city and forge your own destiny and all that. It's a nice little message to end the issue on, and it actually makes for a really nice little self-contained story. If it wasn't going to continue on into next volume, but yeah,
yes. And then we end the issue proper with Patty Spivet, who is on a leave of absence, so she can work on a cold case in South America.
Yep. We also get a little tease of Weather Wizard at the end here, which is really nice to see. And then Barry makes his way back to Central City, where he sees that Dr. Elias, the fucking bastard, is leading a campaign against the Flash and vigilantism in Central City, and it's annoying.
And yeah, here's where I was like, oh, things have changed. Yeah. And we don't ever actually. Some of these time jumps honestly start to become a slight issue because we don't always get the connecting material between the time jumps. Also, I'm very curious to see where Elias is going after these 2 volumes. Because, he's not dead. Surprisingly. I thought he'd be dead after some of the stuff he pulled.
Yeah.
But he keeps surviving.
So going into Flash number 10 then, we're going to like what is the structure of this volume for the most part, and what Manapul and Bucalato are building up to in this run at the moment. And that is getting the reader familiar with the Flash's Rogues Gallery so that we can build up to this big villain mashup towards the end of this volume here. This first one here is penciled by Marcus To, who is definitely not Francis Manapul, but is still a very good artist, I think.
He's a good artist. I will say the distinct styles of this and Guerrilla Warfare, because both these volumes alternate artists quite a bit. Manapul doesn't do all the art. I think it hurts Guerrilla Warfare more when it happens like in the middle of the story.
Yeah, here it's at least like it's individual stories that are penciled and inked by different artists.
Yes.
Yeah, when it's like the full like 5-part Guerrilla Warfare, it's a little harder to get behind the artist changes.
Yeah.
But here we are. This is our Weather Wizard story, which is very cool to see. We open up on a flashback to 2 years ago.
As opposed to the usual 5 years ago.
Yeah. Changing it up a little bit in the New 52.
This is much more believable, honestly.
Yeah.
So we have the this is Claudio Martin, who is one half of the Martin brothers, calling his brother Marco. He is in Central City for a meeting for his family business. He's a gangster.
Yeah.
With the proclivity for controlling the weather. Except, of course, he gets a knock on the door and a very violent shootout. Like, really powerfully done.
Yeah, it's a great first 2 pages. Then we jump into a little catch up on what Barry's been up to. Just catching us up on the past couple arcs, where we're up to now, and Barry's now facing off against the Weather Wizard. DC Comics proudly presents the Flash. It's very nice. God, I just love these title pages so much. They're so good, even when they're not Manapul. Like just so good. Yeah, just nice to see.
Yes. Yeah. So Barry's going after Patty in South America. In Guatemala, in Puerto Quetzal. And Patty's gone missing, and the fact that we didn't see any of the connective tissue kind of leaves you on your toes. Like, it leaves the reader on their toes.
It actually works to the issue's advantage here. That, like, you don't exactly know where all this is going, and it kind of leaves you in the dark while also still telling a cohesive story. It's nice.
Yes. Yes, and I love this individual issue for a lot of the fun weather stuff. Like, Barry trying to save people from the flood that the Weather Wizard is causing. And, it's like, that's what a lot of the issue is really, really well. And once again, Manapul and Bucoletto's writing, and then obviously Marcus To's art gets actually still manages to be quite creative with what Barry can do. Like, he ends up running really fast. He can walk on water to save a fisherman from on a boat that's flooding, and he tries to outrun lightning, and he's trying to get to the bottom of where Patty could be because Patty has been kidnapped. And what's interesting is that Barry's convinced it's Weather Wizard that kidnapped her. And it turns out it isn't.
Yeah. Because Weather Wizard is off doing sort of his own little thing here with Elsa, her name is. They kind of give the game away very early on here with the little text that she sends with the kill them thing.
The kill them?
Like, all right, sure.
It's obviously his girlfriend.
Yeah.
Who is also the girlfriend of his dead brother.
Yeah.
Which is a bit ridiculous, let's be honest. Especially for the fact that it doesn't stop to really deal with sort of that. But what I particularly like is, so Patty's essentially damseled, but she doesn't feel like she's incompetent. Like,
no, definitely not. And I especially like some of the dialogue that we have down here with when she's trapped in the basement with the other hostage.
It's all exposition, but it's all like Patty trying to get information to try to effect an escape. She doesn't think the Flash is going to come to save her. Why would she? The Flash has been missing as far as she knows.
Yeah.
And she's also convinced, well, this guy has evidence of Elsa's crimes. It's like, well, as long as he's alive, they can't. It's like, as long as he has that, you can't kill us.
Meanwhile, Barry is confronting Weather Wizard and Elsa, and he begins like interrogating Marco until like Elsa gives it all up and says like she was in charge of the whole thing. She got Marco's brother killed and all that. Really, really, really like just powerful stuff actually, especially when we get to this next page when we play the two conversations between Marco and Elsa and Barry and Patty side by side. Yes. I really love that page with the 12 panels across the two pages. It's really nice. You get a great little scene. The two scenes between the two of them, I really enjoy those. And yeah, we start to close out the issue then. We get a little tease of Golden Glider here, which is very nice to see. Or they mostly just call her Glider, but she's Golden Glider. It's
it's also building up to it. Patty still thinks Barry is dead. Like, everyone still thinks Barry is dead, which is quite funny. Because Barry doesn't become officially alive again until like the last two issues of the next volume, I think.
Yeah. It is what it is. It's cool. Moving on to The Flash number 11. This is our Heatwave issue, which is fun. And it has probably my favorite cover of the individual Rogues covers here. It's really, really nice stuff.
Yes.
Once again, Marcus Toe's on pencils here. And actually, I think I prefer his art here than in the Weather Wizard one.
Yes. Heatwave is also, I think, the Flash Rogue that I at least hadn't heard of going into this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, because
I think wasn't he in the CW show?
He might have been, but I also don't remember the CW shows that entirely well.
I think he was, I forget how early he came in, but he was like...
He might have been...
Dominic Purcell played him, I know that.
He might have been pretty early.
Yeah, because they eventually moved him over to that Legends of Tomorrow show.
Yes, Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow.
The show that decides to pinch Arthur Darvill after his Doctor Who runs over.
Yeah, the geniuses.
Uh,
Yeah, getting into this one. We see that Heatwave right away is like really fucked up, like his skin is all burnt here, and he kills this guy like right at the start here. Do we know who this guy is at all?
this is just
that's right. Yeah, he's just the guy like at the hotel there. That's right. He like slips in the bottle there, and it pisses off Heatwave so much that he kills him,
and he burns him alive.
Yeah. Yeah, fun stuff. And then we see Barry just adjusting to normal life with him not existing,
him being dead.
Yeah,
and
it makes for some really interesting like scenes early on here. He goes to this place called the Keystone Saloon, which is where like all the super villains of Central City hang out, and
okay, the characterization of Barry is like it's adorably like clean cut.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like, oh Barry, you're trying, but you are too good for this sinful world. Like he
walks in, he sits down, he orders a drink. He sees Captain Cold is sitting next to him. He's told to pay for the drink, but he like doesn't have any money on him, so he's like,
he gets pickpocketed. Can I work it off? You're hired.
I love the way that scene plays out. It's such a fun little sequence.
And like, yeah, Barry as a bartender is just, it's hilarious. I kind of wish they played up the fact that the Flash is working in a Rogues bar a little bit more than they kind of do, because we only get some of it, but we don't get enough of it.
Yeah.
But we have then at the Central City Police Department, Patty being chewed out for going to Guatemala
to chase that cold case down,
using her vacation time to do it.
Yep. She's sent out, and we get this really nice panel at the bottom here, actually, which first off is establishing that Elias is doing more press about how much he hates the Flash and all that, but also just Singh holding his head over the Central Citizen newspaper headline where that says like Pied Piper is back,
on top of a bunch of other newspapers involving arson.
Yeah,
like there's this with our like Central City Police Department characters, which really it's just director Singh, Patty, and Hartley Rathaway, the Pied Piper.
Yeah, and it makes for a really nice little just like tight knit cast of characters. Yeah, there.
But you really see like the stress and the worry that like Barry's dead and everything's falling apart. And it would all be fixed probably if everyone just sat down and talked to each other, but of course that's not going to happen.
It's a comic book. Everyone's angsty.
Comic book. Everyone's angsty.
Yeah.
Also, it's at this point where like I'm like, Dr. Elias is a smug bastard.
I fucking hate him so much. I forgot how much I hated this guy.
It's very well. We should all pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, pull our own weight, and we can give the power back to the people. Sort of those empty promises that mean nothing. Also, okay, I love the way this scene, the last scene, and then the next scene in the bar all transition seamlessly into one another through like it's very something you might see on like TV, right? Like you could imagine zooming into director Singh's computer,
and like going into the interview, and then from the interview you zoom out and you have the TV at the bar.
The bar being
just really smart way of doing that. I love that. Which even though Manipul and Bucalato like art, Manipul isn't on the art here. Like you can very much see, like you can imagine how Manipul would have done that. You know, with his style, the writing very much reflects how they're telling their story here.
I wouldn't be surprised if the script was also specific about these sort of transitions. Mm-hmm. I will say this second volume, has a lot of very nice. Speaking of the art, sketch extras at the end. Yeah. All done very like it takes up like quite a few pages actually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I love that they're included. I know there's an Omni of the Flash by Francis Manapul and Brian Bucoletto, and I kind of hope that they got transferred over there. If you're buying the Omni, but if not, seek out the individual issues just for that really nice art. Like
the trades, that is, not the individual.
Oh
issues.
right, yeah, the trades.
Yeah, the trades are still really cheap. So yeah,
yes,
yeah, very very well worth it. But yeah, Cold breaks the TV. He gets bitched at by the bartender about it. There's a little conversation between Barry and Cold here, and then Heatwave busts in. And
well, Barry makes Cold a drink to try to of compounds that will withstand extremely low temperatures because the Rogues have superpowers, and will eventually explain how that happened. Yeah, Heatwaves bursts in. I can't speak tonight. Trying to kill Captain Cold, for mysterious reasons. Also, just okay. So Barry tries to intervene as Barry. And it's like, looks like you have plenty of reason to be upset, friend, but I don't think barging in here with murder in your eyes.
And then he gets tossed out the window, which is the perfect excuse for him to just leave and come back as the Flash. And
also, he's going by the name Al, which I think is just like...
It's fun. But he tries to stop the confrontation between Cold and Heatwave here. Of course, to no avail. They're still angsty comic book villains. At which point, Flash runs really fast around them and stops them and knocks them out.
So yeah, what he's doing is okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, cutting off the air. That's right. Okay, I was like,
which is really it's a smart plan. It's a clever way to fix the problem, but it's also kind of dangerous. Because he knocks them out. They are taken into a. They're taken into a prison vehicle to go to Iron Heights. Mm-hmm. Barry kind of gloating in the narration of, I think this new improved Flash is going to work out with a little help from Al the bartender, which I find hilarious. Yeah. And we end the issue with Cold and Heatwave on their way to Iron Heights, and phasing in is Golden Glider.
Yes. Who Cold calls Lisa, and we've previously met Lisa, albeit comatose, in the last volume. Comatose,
yes.
And this is Lisa Snart. This is Cold's sister. I love it. I just love including her as just like part of the Rogues here. And also she spawns probably like my favorite cover in this whole collection here, which is Flash 12 here next up. And I love the cover.
My favorite cover of this, at least of this second volume, is the annual cover.
Yeah, that's fair, but I think of the individual Rogues covers, I love this one the most.
Yeah, I mean, this one is also great. So, the Flash number 12. This is where a lot of the things. This is where the setup ends, and if I'm being honest, I wasn't expecting it to be pulled off so well, because this will be spending 4 issues of setup, right?
Yeah.
For the annual to basically be like the actual, like the rest of the story. This is just getting pieces in place. And I think Manapul and Bucoletto do a really, really good job of keeping the reader engaged throughout all this setup.
Yeah.
As well as never really falling down from the setup at all.
Yeah.
Like it keeps moving.
Yeah. Moving forward, would you say?
Yes, moving forward.
Picture the most annoying face you've ever seen from me right now. Yeah, we pick up where we left off last time. Glider gets Heatwave and Cold out of there, or at least tries to, because she ends up blowing up a bridge, it looks like here. Yeah.
A bridge? Also, Dr. Elias is on the bridge in a limo. He's just such a bastard every time he shows up.
He is. Even just this tiny amount of dialogue he gets here. It's the fucking worst. Flash goes to save him. He goes inside the limo, and even in that moment, Elias is still being a little bitch to him. It's the worst.
So like Elias's justification is, oh, this was just a social experiment. Which, okay. I have a theory that either Manipul or Brucolata were watching YouTube in the like early 2010s when it's just a prank, bro. Sort of gave way to it's just a social experiment, bro.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, there's chaos on the bridge here. Glider, Heatwave, and Cold all break out, and in the midst of it all, Pied Piper shows up, which is just fun. I don't know. We start like pulling all our characters together here, and you really get the feeling that like Manipul and Bucalado are building to something pretty big here, considering we have the annual coming up next. It's not just like an annual that's another story. It's actually like part of the active story told in the main run. Yeah, it's very nice. Meanwhile, Elias goes up to give a speech about how bad Flash is, of course. But no,
he's also opening a monorail in Central City for some reason.
Because progress or something.
Progress, something to do with green energy. Like, there's all this stuff about like promising green energy, and you can kind of tell like, okay, someone's lying here. There's not actually green energy. What's going on?
Yeah.
And we don't get those answers for a while. But yeah, Glider, Barry is running really, really fast and almost vibrating. And he sees Glider and he's smitten.
He's going to try to kill Elias here. Meanwhile, for like one page, we cut away and see that Cold is teaming up with Trickster here, who breaks Cold out of his cuffs. It's just okay. But no, back with what Flash is doing. Glider's about to try to kill Elias, and Barry saves Elias. But of course,
Barry tries to save him, but he fails. So Glider has put some sort of shard, plunged it into his chest, and because they're moving so fast, Barry shows up, and it looks like Barry did it.
Yep.
So,
and of course, everyone gets their pictures, and media's being the media.
And then we go from kind of chaotic to super chaotic in the best way.
Oh, everything goes to shit. Heatwave is teamed up with Weather Wizard here, and Pied Piper's rolling through town. The monorail begins moving, and Glider and Heatwave like breaks the track that it's on. It goes and it crashes, and it's fucking insane. It's an absolutely insane last couple pages of this issue here.
It crashes into the mirror dimension of Mirror Master.
Yep, everyone is here, and it promises for a very fun annual coming up soon. It's very cool to see. All the rogues are here. They're teaming up. They've abandoned Captain Cold here, and only for Cold to reveal that he's been rescued. Doesn't actually give any credit to the Trickster, which is kind of funny. Trickster who's just kind of been stomping on this whole run so far, and even more so next volume.
The Trickster kind of gets screwed over, and that's honestly kind of hilarious.
It's really sad. It's also kind of fun to see.
Yeah, like it's almost like he deserves it.
Yeah.
And yeah, everything like okay, you can basically tell this is being planned by Lisa Snart from the beginning. Somehow, we don't quite know why yet, and I love how the annual reveals everything.
Yeah. So let's get into this. This is the Flash Annual #1. Again, the clean cover takes away the whole gimmick of it all. Versus the Rogues. That's all it says. It says versus the Rogues because there's no Flash logo. But whatever.
Yeah. But this is also set up as like this goes back to the sort of Silver Age roots of having a multi-chaptered story labeled with chapters.
We've had like Wonder Woman annuals and all that, but it's cool to see it here. And also very bold of them to not have Manipul do any of the art in the annual here except for the cover.
Yeah. Well, so according to the like credits, he did the breakdowns. So his influence, I'd argue, is actually felt pretty well throughout it all. But I also don't blame him because this is an annual. Well, he's writing,
and they're going right into their next big arc with the next issue and the next volume. So
yeah,
and he's working on a 0 issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and the Zero issue is happening.
Yeah.
Immediately after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I love the chapter breakdown here for all these. It's a 5 chapter annual, and it's the idea of just like continuously flashing back and speeding up and getting to where we are currently by the final chapter. It's really really cool stuff. We start off on a flashback. Well, first off, it says 2 hours ago, but really it's a flashback to Barry as a kid with his dad. And I don't know, just his little. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, his dad took him to the Bonneville Salt Flats, which is out in Utah. Well, that's where the salt flats in the U.S. are. I don't know if Bonneville's a real place or a DC exclusive place. It could be either.
We are American.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just a cool little flashback, and also like, there's talking of Barry that like nowadays he would just like runs across it.
And the idea is that Barry's trying to build up speed for what he needs to do, and is reflecting on how he was when he was 9, how you're going fast, and his dad took him here one last time when he was 9. He can remember those memories really, really well for a very good reason, because his dad, was in prison. And that's a reflection of chapter 1.
Yeah. Chapter 2 is The Opportunity, where we go to a year and a half ago, and we get a little history on the Rogues and how they used to work as a team. And this I'm sure had to be really interesting to you, because obviously you knew of the Flash Rogues. You knew there was a group called the Rogues, but did you know that it was an actual team with rules?
I didn't realize it was a team with rules. I didn't realize it was a team with rules. I mean, I knew they would work together based on the Flashpoint movie, but I didn't know this organized. Which I really like that as for a group of villains. One, because it helps make the Flash unique. Because, let's be honest, with some of these rogues, I don't want to say they're copies of, Batman villains, but they very easily could be misportrayed as copies of Batman villains.
Mm-hmm. And also there's the whole thing that, it's more like they're meant to make up a team, on their own. Not all of them stand out the most, for other smaller characters in the rogues, let's say like Trickster, it's mostly just a guy you throw into it with a gimmick, but he works well as a team member.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily as his own character.
You could maybe
so they all have their own thing. Cold has the cold gun. Heatwave has the heat gun. Trickster is a trickster. Heatwave controls not Heat. Weather control the weather. Controls the weather. I can fucking speak. They all have their own thing, and they all contribute something to the team.
Golden Glider, if she was part of the Rogues, would have a glider. Mm-hmm. But now she doesn't. Yeah. And I really like, especially about this second chapter, it's not narrated by Barry. It's narrated by Captain Cold.
Yeah.
We're giving... This section is only about 5-6 pages, or about 10 pages ish, a little less. It's short, but devoting pretty much. It's very dialogue light, but devoting it to having it be from a villain's perspective, is very, very different.
Yeah, there's a great focus here that Manapul and Buccellato write about the focus on the actual rules that the rogues conduct themselves by. You don't kill, you don't go near your drugs. It's all about there's a score to settle, and that's and if we go further than that, it all leads back to violating rule number 1. And it's cool. I just love that idea. So you get an idea of how Flash used to face off against these guys, and you get the feeling for why they all started to turn on Leonard. It's really
Leonard,
really interesting.
I love the idea of Leonard being a drunk. As well as, it then builds to the opportunity of Dr. Darwin Elias coming up with maybe I can help change your life. I can make you all compete with someone who has superhuman powers, which is especially funny because the Flash, in this flashback, Barry beats them. But he also lets them get away because he forgets to tie them up first before securing the money. Barry's not some amazing, perfect superhero.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that was explored a bit more than it is. Because it's a great idea for, like, to make Barry unique.
Yeah.
But then we have Chapter 3, The Price, which is
Mhm.
from Glider's perspective.
Yeah, Lisa's perspective. Where once again, year and a half ago, not long after the last flashback, we see them all like, giving up their more gimmicky ways and actually like going in for like these powers that Elias is offering.
Because Dr. Elias has his genome recoder.
Mhm.
And it's just initially supposed to be Heatwave, Captain Cold, Mirror Master, and Weather Wizard.
Yeah.
But Lisa was in the room and it went wrong and like disfigured all of them. Lisa was put into her coma because of this. And it's kind of all Leonard's fault.
Classic comic book origin.
Yeah. But also, Lisa's now an astral projection as her body's in a coma. And Mirror Master's trapped in the mirror world. So I really like this. Like, as a
Makes for a really
concept.
interesting dynamic amongst these characters. Like once you know where they're all coming from, and the fact that like more than half of this annual's double length is spent just giving backstory to these characters really helps to add stakes to what was already a pretty like high stakes situation by the end of issue 12.
Yeah. And like it's really only the last 2 chapters ish that are actually allowing the falling action to happen. Chapter 4 is following up stuff from way back in issues like 8, issue 7 and 8, where Turbine,
and this takes place 5 minutes ago. Yeah, again, I just love the continually decreasing time span of the flashbacks. Yeah, Turbine goes to see Patty, and they talk about their Turbine's like connection to the Speed Force and all that, leading us directly into Chapter 5, The Showdown, where everything comes to a head, and if you didn't think it was all going to shit before, it definitely is now, because it's going to get even worse by the end of the end of the annual. It's fucking insane. Let's get into this, because I love just how insane this all is.
Yeah, so Pied Piper has been injured in the arms of Director Singh. Captain Cold creates a giant ice wall separating the rogues and the Flash from the cops.
Mm-hmm.
Cold is going to team up with Barry, which Cold feels like all of these feel like the correct choices for this character to make. It's clear that he wants to try to like make amends for everything he screwed up, but also this is also the wrong decision because his sister now wants to kill him even more.
Yeah, and also all this just continuously, the way the rogues are characterized here, and I would say also, especially in Volume 3, continually goes back to that idea of the rules of the rogues, and like it's all about honor and the score, and just like let's actually get into the morals of these characters and understand like where they all come from.
It's also very much we can't rob a city if there isn't a city to rob.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Yeah, just awesome stuff. We trap Barry inside Mirror Master's dimension here then, along with some of the other rogues, while Captain Cold is dealing with Lisa outside of it. We get some really fun page layouts here, because again, you could really tell that Manapul is doing the breakdowns here at the very least, and has a very heavy influence on the rest of the issue.
Yes. And everything is intensifying. I love the back and forth between Leonard and Lisa. It's great. Before we build to this point where Barry rakes through the mirrors, punches Mirror Master out, and pulls everyone out through the mirror dimension.
Except for Mirror Master.
Except for Mirror Master, who's trapped in there because of the genetic recoder.
Mm-hmm.
In the narration, Leonard suggests adding a fourth rule to the Rogues. The Rogues are our family. We stick together and nothing can stop us. I may be a drunk, but I'm a good brother and a damn fine leader.
I love it. So good.
Right for the point where yellow grenade-like things start falling from the sky.
And it is once again monkey time. Grodd and his army of gorillas arrive in Central City. And it is for crimes against my people, prepare to be crushed under the heel of King Grodd. And it's fucking wonderful. It's great. Monkey time.
Also, Barry's knocked out for this invasion. Like,
yep. It's awesome. But that's a pretty big note to end that on. We can't go straight into our next one though, because the Rogues Revolution as a volume actually ends on a 0 issue. Which actually, structure-wise, I think it probably would have been better to start the collection on this issue.
Yeah, I mean,
what are you gonna do?
I will say, this is a very, very strong 0 issue 2 for exploring who Barry is. Especially since, like, a lot of the rest of this volume is focused almost exclusively on the Rogues, which makes sense for what it is. Even though it means that, like, some of Barry's, like, character arc plots have to be kind of put on pause. And I really, really like that. Manipul doesn't actually focus, like, Manipul and Bucalato, neither of them focus too terribly much on Barry's dad being in prison.
It's deserved here.
It's deserved here. But it's 2 panels on the first page played in parallel with Barry's origin of being struck by lightning and being doused in chemicals, which is done really, really well. The lightning is then used to quickly show the flashback of the death of Barry's mom, and his dad being taken away, and Barry being comforted by one police officer. And then we have Barry wrapped up like a mummy in the hospital.
Stuck in a coma for a very long time.
Stuck in a coma for a very long time.
As we flash back to his childhood, we see there's some tension between his mom and his dad here. Barry he won a spelling bee. He got like a trophy for it, and he's going to get it to show his mom. I don't know. I love the way these scenes are played. Also, I just love the way Manipul draws little kid Barry. He's fucking adorable.
He's an adorable little nerd.
He is.
And that's kind of who Barry is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the cop here that was like comforting Barry as a kid, Daryl is visiting Barry while he's in his coma. Really, just really great scenes here, and actually. Something that I'd forgotten about is just how important Daryl is to this issue and to the run as a whole, because we haven't seen him much so far in the run.
We have not, but he becomes important in this back half really, really well.
Yeah,
and we keep these flashbacks. The whole idea is that the Allens are potentially divorcing, which is a nice little twist on sort of the Barry idolizes his parents' relationship because his mother died. And his dad. But even then,
like, as a kid, he can still like recontextualize that relationship in his head, and still like not necessarily see the cracks in it because he was a kid when his mom died, and he doesn't necessarily see these as they were. And I like the idea that potentially him remembering these things while he's in a coma is sort of a moment of clarity for him.
Yeah, it's also really helped by the art and the colors doing that almost monochromatic style, very, very muted to denote the flashback.
Yeah.
Even though technically, like, all of this issue is a flashback. But yeah, I think it's a great retelling of the origin of Barry Allen so far, as we build up to him waking up, remembering his father being taken away.
Yeah.
Daryl comforting him. Waking up, and the first thing he does when he wakes up is just starts to run. Finds himself running halfway across the world. And
in East Africa, oddly enough, near Gorilla City.
yes. And then he jumps ahead 3 weeks to Barry and Daryl talking on a park bench. You know, being
You get the feeling that Daryl really did step into Barry's life to like help him out as a father figure after his mom died
yes.
and his dad was taken away. And just the fact that that Barry is still attached to his dad, but also still has Daryl there to be his father in a way. It's very nice. There's also a really great page here towards the end where coming from Barry's ring, you see like just all these like different experiments that he did with like different costumes and how he like became the Flash. And it's a really nice way to just do it through like this the visual medium that is comics that Manimal plays around with a lot when he does the art here. Very nice stuff.
And we have it end with this very nice idea of Barry moving forward from his dad being in prison. He's going to still try to prove him innocent.
Yeah.
But he's not going to be so stuck in the past.
And we see it like 2 days earlier as Flash, he caught one Daniel. Do we know his last name here? I forget. Do we find it out?
We don't find it out here, but we do in the next volume.
Okay, well, we could say it anyway. It's Daniel West.
Daniel West, who is Iris's brother.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing is another seed that's going to come to a head at some point.
Most definitely, yes. Daniel was like caught, and it was, like as Barry's talking to his dad here, Daniel was like trying to escape, and Barry helps stop him. Not as Flash, importantly, he stops him as Barry, and I think that's just a very important aspect of that. And in this moment, when he goes to like stop Daniel from escaping, like his dad's cell is like left open. And Barry comes back and just pulls the cell shut and is like, I'll get you out of here after I prove your innocence. And just a really important note about his character. I love that. That's where we sort of end it. That's the 0 issue, and I guess that is Flash
Rogue's Revolution.
Rogue's Revolution. So let's get into Volume 3.
Yes. Real quickly,
Warfare,
I'm going to say it. I think that Rogue's Revolution is the stronger volume.
I think I actually prefer Guerrilla Warfare, but I understand both perspectives.
I think I like the focus on the rogues. The 0 issue as itself is actually just really, really solid too. Is exactly sort of a great way to end the collection and give you a pause before Guerrilla Warfare happens, because with Guerrilla Warfare, it's very chaotic.
Yeah.
As you'll see as we move in, it's really quite chaotic, and it almost needs. I feel like there are bits where I think we could have used some time to breathe just a little bit, especially in between, or potentially presenting these stories in a potentially different way. Again, I don't entirely know how, because you don't want to have one giant volume that's moved forward all the way through to Guerrilla Warfare, because Guerrilla Warfare, by the time this ends, this is the first time where it ends where it feels like, okay, we have a complete ending. The story is at an actual ending point, even if things are going to continue from here in the next volume. But yes, so we start with the Flash number 13.
Indeed, monkey time.
The monkey time. Okay.
Monkey time.
Okay, so we start once again with a flashback.
Flashbacks. We love flashbacks. 10 years ago now.
It's 10 years ago.
It's double the typical New 52 time.
Yeah. This is before Barry became the Flash, and probably before Well, no. Did Batman happen at this point? I don't know. What is the New 52 time?
I don't think Bruce is Batman yet. At this point in time.
He's probably the train. The time scale of the New 52 makes no sense.
Oh, we love it. We love the New 52.
We get a 1-page. Basically 1 page with Daryl as the as Barry's father figure, comes in very beat up after a night as a police officer. And he gives Barry some good advice. Barry wanting to go into forensics still and is trying to study for it.
Yep.
And it's basically told never say never, kid, as we get flash forward to 2 minutes ago, where we catch up with Turbine, Patty, Daryl. Turbine has told Patty that Barry is alive. Daryl doesn't believe it. And before we can really move anything about this, Daryl's like, this is just cruel. And the gorillas are here.
Gorillas are here. Also, once again, worth noting, Manipul's back on art here, which is very nice.
And Manipul will be on art for most of this arc.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a break in there, but
yes.
Yeah. More on that later. So, Flash is knocked out. He quickly gets up because that's right, because Weather Wizard uses electricity to wake Barry up, which I think is awesome. And then splash water. Oh no, is it water? Yeah, it's water.
Yeah, it's rain. Rain on his face.
Yeah. Which once again just immediately creates this nice team dynamic. Right away, it's a necessary you have to do this to help you. But it's but again, it just creates this immediate team dynamic that these characters need to team up because now there's a much bigger threat here, and that threat is Monkey.
Is a bunch of gorillas.
So the monkeys attack, and the Flash goes really fast, and that's guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
Look, it's a really simple story, a ridiculously simple story.
Yeah.
Grodd wants to annihilate people. Barry does not want that to happen, nor do the rogues. And that's your story.
And that's your story. And that might be why it didn't resonate as well with me, especially coming right off of really, really solid character drama and character setups and payoffs. But there are, there's still things of note to mention here. So this entire arc is 5. This arc is 5 issues, and then 2 follow-up issues. So this first issue, at least for me, is probably the best for the actual gorillas, where they're actually this undying force of an army. Because
you first off you see that that Grodd has the elder gorillas chained up and all that.
Yes.
He's
become the king.
But then we get the most beautiful scene in this first issue, where the trickster comes up here, and he says, and I quote, "I'll cut to the chase here. Looks like you're setting up shop in Central City, and you've got big plans, am I right? Well, the Flash is kind of the head freak here, and he's not going to be happy about your little invasion. You could use a little liaison to show you around, and get you in and out of anywhere you want to go. Someone who knows this place like the back of his hand. For the right price, I'd gladly offer my help. What do you say?" To which Grodd says,
as he's smiling, he's smiling and offering his hand out, and it gets ripped the fuck off.
It gets ripped the fuck off in the most violent panel this run has done so far. It's so good. Just immediately establishing Grodd's threat, and also just Manipul and Bucalato's lack of care for Trickster as a character.
No, I'm
so happy.
he gets hurt, and you feel so bad for this guy. He doesn't deserve this.
Yeah, he's a bit of a douchebag, but he doesn't deserve this.
We also have our first scene of Daniel West. I will say, okay, if there's one character kind of done dirty by both these volumes, it's Iris West.
Yeah, she didn't get much time, but also once again, this was the New 52, and we were experimenting with other superhero romantic pairings.
Yes, but also what doesn't help is that the Barry Patty relationship doesn't get much time until the very end because she thinks Barry is dead. When it does get time, it's great. I love those interactions.
And Patty gets some great time on her own throughout this volume as well.
Yeah. It's just Daniel's immediate purpose in these issues is kind of to keep reminding us where's Iris? Iris is trapped in the
yeah.
Speed
He's
Force,
he's
remember?
just running around looking for Iris throughout this whole thing. And that's about that. Meanwhile, Barry is teaming up with the Rogues because once again, necessary evil. He kind of have to. They're working on fighting the monkeys, and that's pretty much the rest of the issue. Most of it, at least.
Most of it, yeah. They work together very nicely
until we begin making our way to the lab here. Right? He's going to the.
Yeah, he's going to try to go to the lab.
Yeah. Until we end on a pretty important cliffhanger. Until he's caught up with by King Grodd, who we learned has tapped into the Speed Force, and
somehow.
And he looks fucking nuts. I love it.
He looks insane.
Yeah. Let's get into the Flash number 14. 14. Yeah.
Yes. So,
once again, love our flashbacks. This is generations ago, many generations ago, showing how these monkeys became imbued with the Speed Force. I love it. It's so weird, so comic booky. I love it. I don't know, man.
I mean, if Barry can get struck by lightning, so can a bunch of gorillas.
Exactly. And you really need to stretch your brain much more beyond that.
Yeah. So this second issue, a lot of great action of Barry being out of his depth.
Realizing that he is fast. Realizing that he is fast, but also, if him and Grodd are put on the same level, he is just a man fighting a gorilla, and he cannot win that fight.
I think people forget that gorillas, despite being quite large animals, are actually quite fast animals. Like, I think it's difficult for a regular human to outrun a regular gorilla. Never mind a Flash to outrun a gorilla Flash.
Yes, and Barry Allen on his own is definitely not as strong as Grodd, as he immediately realizes when he tries to punch Grodd in the face, and it breaks up the entire arm of his suit there.
Yeah. Also, I just had the thought, is this Monkey Flash Monkey? Should that be Grodd's code name?
Sure. Thank you, Jacob. We really needed that.
We need all the monkeys. Yes. But yeah. So we then another flashback. This time to 20 minutes. I will say the constant flashbacks of these issues in this back half became a little much. Like,
I don't know. I don't hate it. Especially when you're dealing with such a large amount of characters, you kind of have to. Because, again, like I don't think like a 20 minutes ago flashback can necessarily be classified in the same category as, like, the typical New 52, like 5 years ago. This
5 years ago.
Like, yeah. This is just say, like, hey, like, while Flash was doing that whole shit with Grodd, this is what Turbine and Patty were up to.
Yeah. But we are, this is a story that just bounces along the characters a lot.
Yeah.
It's very frenetic, the pace.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there are these paramedics looking after Dr. Elias, and Daniel West is still looking for Iris, and he finds some mail addressed to Iris, and she's not in her apartment.
Because she's been in the Speed Force remember, Barry was missing for quite a bit of time, and they thought he was dead.
And Iris is still missing.
Yeah. Well, Barry's also technically still dead. Like,
yeah.
Which I'm curious as to why they didn't try to put a stop on Iris's mail and declare her dead too.
I mean, unless that's just old mail.
Maybe.
Probably is.
Probably is. But yeah, the city goes to hell. So the gorillas set themselves up at the Central City football stadium. They have, like, the chief elder hooked up to, like, this lightning rod and they want to siphon the brain energy, the mental energy, from the citizens of Central City. And they're starting to herd people by bus into the Coliseum. And that's okay. That's their plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a ridiculous plan.
Yes.
Like, it is utterly ridiculous.
Yes, and Jacob, we're talking giant super speed imbued telepathic monkeys.
Yes, we are.
I don't want to hear the word ridiculous out of your mouth ever again.
Look, every
Anyway, meanwhile, the rogues are fighting the giant monkeys.
yes.
And Flash is running from an equally giant monkey. And
No, I think this monkey. I think Grodd's meant to be bigger. Is a bigger giant monkey because of the Speed Force.
Yeah, that's true. We then get another flashback to the gorillas that are like, I guess, part of the generations ago that gave Grodd the Speed Force.
Except there is one gorilla who was, I believe, captured from Africa and placed in a zoo in Central City, and like, I guess, had generations.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Solovar.
Yes.
A super intelligent, good gorilla.
He's not all gorillas, Jacob. Not all gorillas.
I mean,
not all monkeys.
No, just the super. I was just expecting the super powered ones to be evil, but
not all super powered gorillas, Jacob.
Okay, this is getting dangerously close to.
To what?
Well, okay.
We're talking about monkeys, Jacob.
Yes, I know.
Meanwhile, because we gotta remember that Iris West exists, we're in the Speed Force, and
there's a woolly mammoth. Where the fuck did the woolly mammoth come from again?
I guess the idea is that the Speed Force is just fucking with time. So
yeah, like we
have the tank that shows up there, and it's just it's pulling things from all over the place.
Yeah. Again, kind of a shame that Iris didn't get much.
Solovar takes Patty and Turbine to where Barry and Grodd are fighting. And as Grodd has Barry down to the ground, and he's about to jam a stop sign through his chest, Solovar sacrifices himself, and that's where we end the issue. It's a big paid. What?
It's kind of a shame that Solovar is just there so Barry doesn't die.
Yeah.
It's just kind of.
I do like the little bit that he's in though.
Yeah, I was just hoping for more of this giant gorilla, please.
Well, Jacob, I have really good news. This is a volume all about giant gorillas. There are plenty.
No, but this giant gorilla specifically.
This one in particular. Okay.
Yeah. Also, Grodd needs a bit more character depth than.
I love this conversation so much. Anyway. Moving to Flash number 15. 15. This is done by 3 artists. This is Marcus To, Ryan Wynn, and Francis Manapul.
Yes.
Can't quite tell exactly outside of Francis Manapul where To and Wynn.
So I think I don't know if Wynn just does the inks or also does. I think he also does pencils.
I think he also does some pencils. Yeah.
What's a shame is that because this is in the trade, I imagine the single issue probably would have given a breakdown on the title.
Oh yeah, probably when it shows the title and all that. Yeah. But whatever. What are you gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
Yeah,
continue talking about gorillas. Continue talking about gorillas.
Also importantly, through his fight with Grodd, Barry's suit has sort of been damaged, and Patty can very clearly see that Flash is that Barry Allen is the Flash now, and that he's still alive.
Patty's going to throw a rock at Grodd, which go Patty.
Yeah,
she's great.
Great. Yeah, love Patty. But Patty goes up to help Barry, who's now severely battle damaged now. As
Grodd needs more Speed Force. I want to know. Okay, so if he eats Barry, right? He's still going to need more. But Barry
is a massive Speed Force siphon himself. So if you eat Barry, then I guess that's a
permanent?
Lot of Speed Force. It's at least a lot to last you a really long time.
Yes. Yeah. So
I love it. I love talking about this. You always sound stupid when you talk about the monkey stories. It's great.
I'm trying my best.
It's so good. No, it's fine. It's fine. Keep it going.
To take this 100% seriously. But you kind of just have to go for the ride.
Yeah. Except embrace monkey.
Also the army shows up. And and have a perimeter. Also there's a bunch of smoke radioactive smoke
going around the stadium there, and
I think in spite of the entire city, and the rogues are still fighting. I love all the rogues' dialogue. Like,
they're so well characterized.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that I love the idea that because cold makes that like ice barrier around them, Mirror Master is able to exist there because it's a giant reflection.
Yes.
Just a cool idea.
Yes. Yeah. Also,
meanwhile,
so
Grodd is desperately trying to get more speed. Wait, sorry, no. Shit, Speed Force energy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Again, we have to be careful with these sorts of things.
We can't win describing this story. We just can't win.
We can't.
It's so good. Meanwhile, Daniel is still trying to find Iris. He gets attacked by a monkey, and
I think this might be Ryan Wynn. I think
that would
because it doesn't quite look like Marcus Toe, and it's definitely
not.
Manifold.
I think if anything, it looks. I think Wynn might be like this, like next segment with Barry and
yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay.
We get this really sweet moment between them because Barry's once again in a coma, and you just have Patty just like there comforting him, and she's there with Daryl, and it's just a really sweet little scene. Turbine's there too, and while this is all happening, Barry his mind is like accelerating again, and
he's slowly waking up.
He believes that he's like very aware of the fact that he's like dying right now, and because once again like like his mind like works on the same Speed Force energy that his body does. He's able to like feel that in slow motion pretty much. It's really, really cool.
And the rest of the issue is done in this very broken giant, like, they're not a bunch of 2-page spreads, but they also aren't like standard panels. Like, yeah. This is the Manipul art, and it's
leading up perfectly to the last like couple pages with the DC proudly presents the Flash and Guerrilla Warfare Flash Forward, and it's just it's awesome. I love it.
And I think the idea is that Barry sees potentially his own death potentially in the future because now he has some clairvoyance because he works on the Speed Force, which allows him to access. He's been able to access the past before, and now he can access the potential futures. An idea that was seeded way back and moved forward really, really well. I think I preferred the way it was drawn in Move Forward.
But come on, it literally becomes the title here. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, no, this is really, really cool for what it is. But then the last couple issues don't actually try to do that again with that clairvoyance in that same way, which is a shame. I didn't mean to try to knock these bunch of pages because these are like the best pages of the issue. Like,
yeah. I mean, Manipul art is always gonna like blow like almost any comic artist out of the water. Yes. It's great. But yeah, Barry wakes up from his coma. He decides he has to turn himself over to Grodd. Brings us into Flash number 16, and Manipul's back on art full time again, and it's pretty fucking awesome because like, once again, Flashback Land, classic 5 years ago.
But this time we need to figure out why aren't Barry and Iris together. It's because Iris was using him on a date for a case. But it's a great scene. I like their clash, like the way they clash.
Yeah,
and I like the way
work out between the two of them.
I also again like the parallelism of the second and third page being in parallel with the DC Comics proudly presents the Flash
on his body.
Yeah, but like cool. You have breaking up with Iris and then Patty accepting Barry, and I don't know. I like Barry and Patty together.
I'm a big Barry Patty fan as well. Yeah.
I know that's not like Endgame.
It's not the standard, and it like if the Barry Iris relationship were as well known as Clark and Lois, like I'm sure we would have bigger issues with this than we are.
Well, it might be because it's a bit different than the classic Clark and Lois, which is superhero plus reporter, which is kind of like the reporter dynamics in superhero romances is a thing. Like that seems to be a thing for superhero romances.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can get a bit derivative of Clark and Lois. And I don't want to say that Barry and Iris is derivative because I haven't really read anything with Barry and Iris as a couple in any great capacity.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but this is something different. It also helps that Patty is actually a fun and interesting character who can stand on her own outside of Barry.
Yeah.
Whereas Iris
and also comics. Let nerds date nerds.
Yes.
Please. But yeah, Barry leaves. He goes goes to confront Grodd. You know what is fucked up? I almost just said Grog. For those unaware, I've been watching a lot of Critical Role lately.
Now I'm imagining Grodd as played by Travis Willingham.
You know what? Not bad casting.
Oh, that would be
like genuinely not bad casting. You know what's funny actually is Travis Willingham is we mentioned Injustice 2 earlier. Is also in Injustice 2. He's Jay Garrick actually.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and then we complete the Critical Role Flash Trinity with Liam O'Brien as Reverse Flash. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think also we have Laura Bailey as Supergirl in that, and Matt Mercer as Deadshot.
I mean, the U.S. voice acting sphere is kind of small, anyways.
It is, so... but also just those are all just great castings.
Yes.
Although it doesn't matter because Grodd is in that game and he's not played by Travis Willingham, and now I want that.
Now I want that. DC, do an animated film with Grodd and cast Travis Willingham, please.
Also, just make a Flash animated film, please.
With the Rogues. Rogues.
Like Grodd. Or Grodd. Just Grodd. Monkey time, please. The only Flash animated movie we have is Flashpoint Paradox, and even then that's labeled Justice League Flashpoint Paradox.
Flash fans really
we have nothing.
I mean, we have an audio drama now.
Yeah, we do, which I'm very excited for. I'm very much.
I'm going to probably listen to that when that comes out because I'm very, very curious.
Looking forward to that. We have a subpar TV show. We have a subpar movie. Sorry, we have two subpar TV shows. Sorry. Oh god.
You know what? I think one of our listeners actually really likes the '90s Flash show.
I know she does, but she won't listen to this. So, but no, it's like I don't know. Like, there's a reason that Flash comic fans are so passionate about Flash comics because they have nothing outside of Flash comics. Nothing that's actually like satisfying to a Flash comic fan. Yeah.
Anyway, back to the issue.
That was a weird tangent to go on.
That was a weird tangent, but also a lot of this issue is just action.
Like, it is, yeah. But also, you get a lot more Rose content. You get some fun interactions. You actually get a bit more of an insight into Mirror Master and Glider for a brief moment there.
Yes, Animal with Daniel West, where it turns out that Iris refuses to actually help her brother when he was in prison, and was hoping to have Barry go over the evidence on his case. And it's implied that he was locked away for 5 to 10 years and only got out on good behavior, which is interesting. We then go into the Speed Force again. So our 4 characters have been trapped in the Speed Force. Start to demonstrate metahuman abilities, and that's actually one of my complaints. Bar Iris conveniently. That's actually one of my complaints against the last 2 issues of this volume, that are post the story arc. We'll get to it when we get to it. Is how these characters are kind of handled. Meanwhile, Barry turns himself in, is captured. Gorilla Grodd has a villain monologue,
and as he goes to strike down Barry Allen, the spear that he's about to jam into him disappears, and the Speed Force erupts around them. And
because the mind will always be faster.
Yeah, and it sets up for this really cool showdown actually. As we end off issue 16 with Barry finding out that Iris is there in the Speed Force with them, and we go into issue 17 then with a very nice cover actually.
70?
I mean, they're all nice covers. They're all nice covers. They're all Francis Manapul, but still,
yes,
point stands. And also, God, I love this opening. It's very watercolor. It's a beautiful first page. I fucking love it. Just it looks awesome.
Yeah. So
and,
this is where we get Grodd's motivation, which is actually kind of an interesting motivation. Because he believes that Barry stole his birthright, which I don't know. I feel like you could do a very interesting political drama set in Gorilla City, like separate from the Flash and like all of those characters, but just like isolated in Gorilla City. Like that could be really really interesting. Like make it like Game of Thrones, but with giant Speed Force gorillas.
Yes,
who are intelligent.
That I don't know what that would look like. I don't know what kind of CGI budget you would need for that.
Oh no! I'm talking a comic series. Like do it as a comic series.
I thought you were talking about like a fucking like TV show.
No,
because you made the Game of Thrones allegory, and I was like, okay, yeah, Game of Thrones with monkeys. Yeah, let's do that. I was like, it's been a long day. It's been a really long day, and we've spent so long now talking about monkeys, and I can't.
Look. I really hope the next episode we don't have to talk about monkeys at all.
I will find a way to bring up monkeys.
I'm sure you will. But yes. So Grodd is either going to kill his friends or Barry first, and Barry is going to take C, none of the above.
Yes, because Barry is smart.
Barry is smart.
Then we go to just outside Central City, where the rogues are teaming up once again.
To destroy the brain drain thing.
Yep.
Remember, this is also a brain drain plot. Like
yes, and
this is
and the U.S. military is involved because they I love the image of them of the U.S. military just guns aimed at the giant apes, and it's just I love that's the way that plot ends, because how else would it end? I guess.
Well, because Grodd is a false prophet, so they put their hands up and they surrender.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And then the rest of the gorillas leave in the big golden pods, and they try to escape. Back
also,
in the Speed Force,
Solovar isn't dead. He's alive, and he just is thrown into a pod to escape. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
Meanwhile, back in the Speed Force, the woolly mammoth shows up to help stop Grodd.
No. But you see, it's a Speed Force woolly mammoth. It can run really fast.
Yes, everything can run really fast. They're in the Speed Force. Come on.
Yes, except for Iris. Iris. Iris can.
That's true. And then we get a heroic Barry saves Iris moment that's framed romantically, but they are still not together.
Yes.
And then we get out of the Speed Force. We take a tank with us, and we take Iris and all the other people that were in the tank with us. Patty's relieved to see, of course, that her boyfriend's still alive. The rogues go on their way, and Elias is goes to his lab and activates something. And
what I think it's implied to be like a bunch of collected Speed Force energy. I think that's what this is. Well, because it's implied when Grodd is smashing up the lab way back a bunch of issues ago that he's absorbing the Speed Force that are in the giant tubes. That is orange. So I think that's what that's supposed to be.
We will see.
I think it's also meaning that Elias is the Reverse Flash. Maybe I don't know.
That's right. They don't actually tell us who Reverse Flash is by the end of this.
No, he just shows up,
and it is a new version of the character. Like, it's not an identity that we already know. I will say that.
That I did know going in that the New 52 Reverse Flash was a new Reverse Flash.
Because you don't know who it is, right?
I don't know who it is.
Good.
I just know it's
good. That's gonna make it when we get back to the run so fun.
I know it's not Professor Zoom or Eobard Thawne or
Hunter Zolomon
what's his face from the TV show played by Tom Cavanaugh?
Harrison Wells.
Harrison Wells, yes.
Yeah. That's an original character for the show. So.
That's an original.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah. Meanwhile, Barry is welcome back to the land of the living.
For whatever reason, though, he doesn't get his job back.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So
Because Jacob, we need Al the bartender. That's why it happens.
See, I'm so conflicted because like I want more Barry in a bar, but also like I feel like this would be news that Barry Allen is alive, and surprise, he's actually Al the bartender. um, I can write the headlines now. But we end 1 month later.
Yes.
And
move forward. He always says move forward, but it's time he learned sometimes you gotta go in reverse.
Okay, can I say I love this design?
It got a lot of shit at the time. It got so much shit at the time because it's not a typical Reverse Flash look.
Well, but it's like
love it.
Okay, so like
it's so cool.
If I can imagine it getting initial shit up until whenever they reveal who the identity is, because I could imagine readers expecting this to be one of the established Reverse Flashes. Yes,
I think it's also really smart for a run like Manapul and Bucalato's Flash that took a more traditional road to like reintroducing all of Flash's rogues into the story, and then coming out with this brand new version of this character.
Also, they're doing what it takes because the next volume is called Reverse. So that's obviously the big Reverse Flash fight.
Yeah.
It's volume 5 is
volumes 4 and 5 are your wrap up of the Manapul Bucalato stuff, and Reverse Flash is their sort of big end game thing.
Their big end. Yeah. I think that's actually really, really smart because I don't know if it was intentionally like a reaction to Flashpoint being so goddamn popular, because Flashpoint was really, really popular. But it is smart to like focus so much on the rogues and save this character who just had this big, masterful appearance that's getting all the praise for at least for about 2 years, right? Like,
yeah, definitely. Close to 2 years.
Yeah, close to 2 years. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, whenever Flashpoint finished up to whenever Reverse itself started, like teasing it right now, I wouldn't count these couple appearances in this last 2 issues because it's just mainly teases and it's setting up the stakes.
Yes.
But yes, so we have 2 more issues of this volume, and they are of this volume. They're my favorite.
That's really interesting because they're just kind of there for me.
So I like the ideas that they played with. So let's just jump into issue 18.
Yes.
The art
here is done by Marcio.
I think Marcio Takara.
The art, I pronounce it. Anyway, Marcio Takara is on art here. Actually, surprisingly Marcus Toe-esque. That was very similar to Toe's art, actually, which actually makes for a nice bit of consistency there.
Yeah. Especially because Takara does this and most of the next issue.
Yeah, because it makes this nice little 2-parter, actually.
Yeah. Also, Manapul is not writing. This is just Brian Bucalato.
Which is interesting because the very end of their run together actually is just Bucalato as well.
Yeah.
So Manapul just being sort of phase out of the run is a damn shame because Manapul is just a damn legend art-wise. We don't know exactly how this right duty, but clear work just fine on their own.
Yeah. I'm also wondering, was Manapul like tapped for another book then at around this time, maybe?
I don't know actually.
Because like that would make sense. It also could be because I believe this is around the time where there was some chaos at DC in general, because that famous moment where Gail Simone was fired off of Batgirl and rehired after a weekend was kind of around this time. That's a thing that happened at DC. But yes, so this issue starts with a break-in of the Flash, and the Flash is saving people. And this issue is called The Hero's Journey.
Yes.
And Okay, so we spent some nice time to like establish the new status quo of Patty and Barry living together, knowing the secret identity. I don't know. I love this page of them together.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
adorable. Barry sadly is still working at the Keystone Saloon.
It's not a sad thing. It's a legendary thing. Let it be. Let it exist. Let Al the bartender thrive.
But now he's
as he meets up with Trickster, who now has a robotic arm after it got ripped off by a fucking monkey.
And he's still making puns about the ape apocalypse.
I fucking love it. Man has high spirits for a dude that got his arm ripped off by a fucking monkey.
However, the fun doesn't last long. He thinks Barry's propositioning him to put a crew together.
Yeah.
For a crime.
Which, I mean, hey, if you ever needed proof that superhero secret identities work, this is it.
But yeah. So, the Trickster has a warrant for his arrest for robbery and murder.
Take it out. This poor guy can't catch a fucking break. I love it.
For a murder he didn't commit. He denies the murder, not the robbery. He probably did the robbery.
He probably did the robbery.
But it's like
this guy. I love it.
I didn't murder no one. Ask anyone. The Trickster ain't no murderer.
It's so funny. Like the only like adapted version of Trickster I know is Mark Hamill, and I just can't imagine his voice doing any of this. This is a totally different character. This is something else entirely. I love it.
You know what? I can imagine 1970s Mark Hamill doing it though. Like,
you know what? That could work.
Like yeah. Not 90s to present.
Yeah, this is Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Trickster escapes, and okay.
What?
We have Albert and Gomez, who I was really hoping we're going to be set up for like a Team Flash type thing. Barry was going to have to mentor them because they're like fledgling superheroes. They have code names of Sprint and Turbocharger, and it's kind of adorable. Like, oh, they're trying, and Barry has to come in to save them because he's experienced. And he, captures the Trickster, and gives them a very nice long talk about, how, just having powers doesn't make you here. You need to know what you're doing. You got a plan. And Barry calls Gomez's girlfriend and gets him ratted out. And this is all
we get some weird like superhero domestics in the middle of all this.
I feel like it could have been a really nice, interesting angle. Nobody knows their powers. Now we bring in a character called Outlander, who is okay. They're doing a play on the sovereign citizen bullshit, which is like this weird libertarian idea that the government is illegitimate and the only law of the land is the Articles of Confederation. It's a weird thing. It's a very American thing.
If I may cut you off for a moment.
Yes.
We did get a last minute question from our Twitter post today.
Did we?
Initially, our friend Rules Panda at Joey Can Read This said, "Darn, I missed it." To which I immediately replied, "We're actually recording right now. If you want to still submit a question." To which he said, should a live action Grodd be a guy in a suit or CGI? I would hesitate to use a real gorilla for a number of reasons. I was in a rush, okay?
Yeah. Okay. You know what?
That's the best one. That's the best question we got.
Yeah, we take option 3. Jim Henson Creature Shop puppetry.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because here's the thing. The original King Kong, not a guy in a suit. It was all stop motion.
Yep. It still looks fantastic. CGI is still very valid, especially if we're talking like movie budget CGI, not CW CGI. You know,
look, my first exposure.
Here's the thing: if you look at like King Shark in the CW and look at him in like the Suicide Squad, if we did that to Grodd, I think we could have a really good movie Grodd in our hands.
Yes, but also puppetry, or a mix of puppetry and CG, doing a nice mix. But like, let the Jim Henson Creature Shop get their hands on this.
That would be awesome.
Also, here's the thing: I didn't mention where I first was exposed to Grodd. It wasn't even a full episode of The Flash. It was a clip, a certain clip.
Oh, is it the Legends of Tomorrow one? The Obama one? The Obama one?
Yeah. Anyway.
And hey, Jo, continuing a theme from last episode of the podcast, there's some pretty great Grodd content if you just keep watching Justice League. Just saying.
I meant to, honestly, but then stuff happened. It's been a weird time. The weather's been a total mess.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Blame the Canadian forest fires.
Yes. I'll blame Canada.
Blame Canada. All right.
We need to rein this in. Okay. So, Sovereigns isn't bullshit. Patty's on the case. And okay, Barry doesn't have a job. Lets himself in, and Director Scene is like, Barry, get out! Like, you can't be here. You can't stay. But Patty like lets him steal a quick glance. No, steal the report.
Yeah, just all together. Just take it. Yeah, it's his.
Yeah. Which, okay, that's fascinating. So, Barry goes to the trickster's cell, and makes a plea to, get him out before they try to blow up Iron Heights. There's a bunch of weapons stockpiled, and we build up to this point where the bomb's going to go off, and then suddenly Barry's powers are gone, and that's the end of the issue.
Yes. And we go into our final issue of the collection and of today's episode, The Flash number 19. With a cover that only reflects the epilogue of the issue. Yes. Which I find funny. But also there's a really nice extended version of the cover, I think, at the back of the trade, right?
Yeah, it was a fold out.
Yeah.
Which I wonder, so that would probably mean what, like this was like folded over and you could pull it out when you bought the Yeah. I get why they didn't want to do that for a trade, because that would be a nightmare to print in just a trade.
Yeah. Unless you're All-Star Batman and Robin, and you get the fold out in your trade.
You know what?
Dude, it's fucking nuts. Now here's the thing. It's like the best single page of the whole thing, because it's like just Jim Lee art of a giant, like, I think it's like 6-page fold out of a Batcave, and it's awesome.
When we covered, I don't want to purchase that book, but
I will say, physically, you want that fold out because it looks really cool.
But also, it's All-Star Batman and Robin.
Just cut out the fold out.
Oh, that's
just cut out the fold out. Borrow it from a library, cut out the fold out, and put it on your wall or something.
Okay, I'm not going to do that because that's
vandalize library books. This is the message. This is the message that Fresh Face Comics has been going towards the whole time.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So,
after all, that's what you did when you borrowed Dark Knight Strikes Again.
I didn't vandalize it.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
I have photographic evidence.
No, you don't.
It's been a long day. Let's move on. Last issue. I'm so out of it right now. All right. Yeah. So Barry has no powers, and there's this big ass breakout at Iron Heights, and yeah.
Trickster wants to get his stuff. And
also, just wanted to mention, I'm only thinking about this now because Barry has boomerangs now.
Well, he starts stealing all
the rogues things, yeah. So Boomerang isn't included at all in Rogues Revolution. Can you guess why?
Probably because of the Suicide Squad.
Absolutely, yes. He was a big part of the New 52 Suicide Squad run. So yeah.
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 But he also
I just
has
want to mention that because I was just thinking about it now.
Weather with some of Weather Wizard's equipment, an old wand, because wizard, which is just fog, and then rain, and Barry without his powers is adorably awful.
Yeah.
So we have Albert and Gomez's girlfriend also going to Iron Pipes to try to be superheroes. There are bombs. The Outlanders are in. Barry is able to take things down.
Mm-hmm.
Albert and Gomez. Albert is in over his head. The Outlanders have a giant gun. And so yeah, Barry also pretends to just be Barry and not the Flash, which is very, very interesting. The turbocharged Captain Cold's weapon to make it a giant gun, which is then used
to freeze everybody.
And then the Flash's powers come back on, and the day is saved. Except Iris doesn't have power, and it turns out everyone has manifested powers except Iris.
Poor Iris.
Then we have a little bit of wrap up on the Watchtower.
Yeah, between Barry and Vic here. Nice to see Cyborg here at the end. Just trying to investigate what happened to his powers, why they disappeared so suddenly, why they came back so suddenly.
There was an artifact that seems to be able to siphon superpowers that apparently manifested Speed Force powers at the time Barry lost his powers and stopped manifesting those powers when Barry got them back, so it's probably that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's a hint for something else coming up in the run, or if it's trying to tie into something for Justice League. Who knows?
And also we get a nice little bit of a reflection here, actually, from Barry, that like he realized just like how ineffective he was without his speed, and he's like, I don't know how like Batman and Green Arrow like do that. I don't know how they go out there every night. Just I don't know, just like interesting little bit of like introspection from Barry there. Yes. But then we get our epilogue, and we see one Daniel West crashed into a taxi, blood all over him. Time reverses. Then he goes up, flies back up to a building that he supposedly fell off of, and is being held by the Reverse Flash that was revealed 2 issues ago, and that is where we leave things for the volume. And that's where we'll pick up when we get back to Francis Manapul and Brian Buccella's Flash eventually. So
it's going to be a while because we have.
It is going to be a while because we have a lot of really cool plans for the podcast, and it's really hard to keep up with so many things. And but it's fun, and that's the joy of comics, I think.
It's fun. It's great. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was very enjoyable.
It was. Yeah. I was really glad to do this actually because we didn't do much Flash in our last Flash block, and I was really looking forward to this episode actually.
Yes. I think honestly, Rogues Revolution could make a very good like standalone Flash movie. Like make it a movie. Also,
the trouble is like the plot like directly leads into a totally different story.
I feel like you could alter the conclusion a little bit to
actually have it be like a Flash Cold team up against the rest of the Rogues.
Yeah, and then actually, like don't do it. Cool. Like it doesn't have to be like the perfect direct adaptation, but take a lot of its inspiration from that. Yeah. Honestly, we just need the Rogues because the Rogues I think the Rogues help make the Flash because Barry is like a perfectly good, fine protagonist, but like sometimes he can be the least interesting person in his own book. Because he's surrounded by some very, very colorful and interesting characters.
Yeah, and it really does make the world of the Flash feel very alive, and it's very nice.
Yes.
So,
and there are many Flash runs to read. So
many, yeah. So, all right, you already know what episode 46 is.
I do.
So, if you weren't listening to last time on the podcast, we recorded on Jacob's birthday, and I gave him a little birthday gift to let him choose an episode from 46 to 49 of what he wanted to find, an episode that he wanted to find out about early, like ahead of time, if he wanted to do that. And he did want to do that.
Outside of episode 47, which I also know for guest reasons.
Yeah, which we'll talk about next time. But yeah. So Jacob, just to remind our listeners, or tell them for the first time if they didn't listen to the last episode, what are we reading next time on Fresh Face Comics?
Well, next time, the dartboard. My dartboard throwing of always pulling a certain name out of the hat paid off, and we are going to be reading Green Arrow Year One, which
by Andy Diggle and Jock, which is my personal preferred Green Arrow starting point for a lot of people, and also just a really great little standalone Green Arrow story.
Yes.
So we've had a few Green Arrow appearances here and there, and other things we've read, and we've never read a story all to himself before. So I'm very excited to be doing that. Yeah.
It also seems that he's a character who kind of gets the shaft in DC occasionally.
Yeah. Well, also like just he always kind of did, like even from like his inception, like he never had his own solo run until the late 80s.
Oh, ooh.
Yeah, like a solo ongoing run called Green Arrow didn't happen until 87? 87.
So
87 was the miniseries. 88, I think, was when the ongoing started.
So not until post-Crisis. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and also it was a borderline like Vertigo title too. Like it wasn't like they didn't have the Vertigo label on it or anything, but every issue had like a little thing that said like suggested for mature readers.
Because Vertigo didn't come around until the later into the 90s.
Yeah.
Like,
but I will say like it's what I'm reading through right now. I mentioned it on our recent Fresh Face one shot. I'm reading through Green Arrow by Mike Grell over right now, and you can see like why it's very, very much intended for mature readers. It's a very different kind of book for DC in the late 80s. So
that would be also fascinating.
But that's not what we're reading. That's not what we're reading at all. I don't know why I mentioned that at all. We're reading Green Arrow Year One, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yes.
So as always, be sure to follow us on Twitter. I'll leave our link trees down in the description below. I will also leave links to Amazon links, that is, to these two books, Rogues Revolution and Guerrilla Warfare, in the comments. Oh my god, in the description below. I can talk. I'll also leave a link to Green Arrow Year One. All Amazon links. You can purchase those if you want to read along with us on the podcast. It's always appreciated. Also, be sure to subscribe to Blood in It Studios, leave a rating, and subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us on, be that Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're on a bunch of different platforms where any support is appreciated. Also, as always, on Blood in It Studios, we're watching through Star Trek and through the Breaking Bad universe. Star Trek with my brother. Breaking Bad with my friend Brian. Those have been really fun.
With Star Trek, I believe you will have just done Cat's Paw.
Cat's Paw, yes. And also, we have just recently released the El Camino video for Breaking Brian, which is awesome. Go check that out. A much shorter video compared to the other Breaking Brian videos, but a very fun conversation nonetheless. So, Jacob, anything to promote?
I'm also reviewing Star Trek week by week on my blog, as well as the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who. When this is coming out, I will have just started Series 3, which is very fun, as well as various book reviews and things that will be happening on my blog. So go check that out. Also in the link tree in the description down below. Yes.
Cool. We're 5 episodes away from episode 50.
We are 5 episodes. We are in the countdown.
Holy shit. That's fucking nuts. That just really sunk in with me. Like, sunk in. Sunk in.
Yeah. We are also very, very close. Like, we are about 2 months away from it happening.
Yeah.
Just over 2 months.
I can give the listeners an idea since we're in like the final countdown of that. So next time is Green Arrow. It's its own little like standalone episode. It's not part of like a block or anything technically. Then episodes 47 through 49 is its own little 3-episode block. Jacob probably already has an idea of what it is because he knows what one of the episodes is. But again, we had to plan out guests in a certain way, but we'll talk about that more next time.
Yes.
Episode 50 is going to be a long episode. It's a lot of issues to cover. It's a very special 2 books that we'll be covering, and we'll be talking about that then. And then episode 51 for 10 episodes straight. That's 20 weeks of Fresh Face Comics. It's almost half a year.
Almost half a year.
Episodes 51 through 60. We're doing our first ever Marvel block. Now,
yes.
For those of you who do not follow my Twitter and are wondering why are you only doing 10 episodes and DC got 50 fucking episodes. I have not read nearly as much Marvel as I have DC. And if you follow me on Twitter, I have 2 giant threads of Marvel reading. And I mostly started doing all that Marvel reading so that I have things prepared to read with Jacob. This 10 episode block is a split into like 5 smaller 2-episode blocks of characters and teams that I want to show off to Jacob and things that he's interested in reading.
Yes.
And it's that short only because I don't feel personally prepared enough as a Marvel reader to throw enough knowledgeable information Jacob's way about like what books he should and shouldn't read. So it's a small block to start with. We're definitely doing more in the future, but it's a 10 episode block, and that's what we're getting.
Yes.
So,
contrary to a certain listener's belief, it is not because Joey dislikes Marvel.
It's not. It's really not. Trust me. And I will say, like, the 5 runs that we're starting in those 10 episodes are fucking fantastic. I am so unbelievably excited to talk about these with you, and I don't think I've really been so excited about starting a new era of comics with you since like first starting this podcast. It's really fucking cool.
Well, see, it's also because we've been doing so many continuations recently. Like,
the fact that we're starting that many new series in a row is also really, really exciting.
Really exciting. Really, really fun. Yes, that will be starting. So, that was episode. The Marvel block begins late September. And that will take us all the way from late September, all the way to the end of January 2024.
Yeah.
So we're having some massive Marvel marathons.
Yeah. Very excited about all that. So yeah. I know we did like all our closing out stuff and then we said all that, so this is a bit of a weird outro, but I guess that about does it.
But hey, we are counting down to episode 50, so stick around.
Yes, absolutely. Very exciting books incoming, and including actually starting a couple new runs before we get into our Marvel block. So
yes. I know one of them technically.
Indeed. Yeah. So, all right. Thank you all so much for listening. It really means a lot. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan
and Jacob Licklider.
Goodbye.
Monkey.